Welcome to Mitzvah Expo, the Jewish Community Organization Showcase hosted by Rabbi Cantor Dr. Linda Bernstein.
Shalom and welcome to Mitzvah Expo, a new podcast and website showcasing the organizations and initiatives that enhance Jewish life, fight injustice, support Israel, strengthen our ties to the broader community, and more. I'm Rabbi Linda. Our goal is simple. We want you to get informed and be inspired by the work these valuable Jewish organizations do on our behalf every day. Alongside this podcast, our website at mitzvahexpo.org serves as a companion hub. There you'll find a showcase page for every organization featured on the program, with more information about their work and ways to connect with them. Today, our Mitzvah Expo featured organization is J, the Jewish News of Northern California. I'm pleased to welcome Jo Ellen Green Kaiser, Chief Executive Officer. Jo Ellen became the first CEO of J, the Jewish News of Northern California, in 2022. As CEO, she works closely with the board to set organizational strategy, manage finances and operations, and with the J's publisher and editor-in-chief. Jo Ellen works to deepen J's impact in the Jewish community, but also establish it as a player across the wider journalism landscape, covering topics of concern among California's Jews and other communities, particularly marginalized groups and racial minorities. Kaiser called it, quote, an exciting time to be involved in this new media era, with so many ways to creatively reach and connect with your audience, unquote. J, the Jewish News of Northern California, covers the full range of what it means to be Jewish today, from the arts to religion, food, life cycle events, and news of our local, national, and global communities. Its talented staff writers cover the local community in depth, augmented by a stable of skilled, seasoned freelancers. J strives to present the diverse voices that characterize the vibrant Northern California Jewish community, to present a wide range of views through op-eds and letters from readers, and to engage the reader in the kind of lively debate that enriches and defines Jewish life. Welcome to Mitzvah Expo. I'm Rabbi Linda Bernstein, and today we are very fortunate to have the CEO of the J Weekly, known as the Jewish News of Northern California, Jo Ellen Green Kaiser. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Bernstein. This is just really fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Great. We're excited to showcase the J Weekly. As I mentioned to you before we began the program, I've known about the J, which used to be called the Bulletin, for literally decades. And it's kind of an institution in San Francisco and the Jewish community, and helps to educate all of us and inform us and keeps us cultured and do all the things that a wonderful Jewish newspaper as yours does. And so I would like to know, first of all, just for those of us who are not familiar with the J Weekly, tell us a little bit about it and how you define your mission today.
Sure. So J is the Jewish News of Northern California. We really are regional. We cover from Eureka all the way to Santa Cruz, and from the ocean out to Tahoe. Uh, our mission is to inform, connect, and strengthen the Jewish communities of our region through producing high quality journalism with a Jewish lens. So the idea is that we are really a journalism first organization, but we're here for the community. And you can find stories about everyone who lives here in Northern California and what they're doing, and all the time. We publish, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us, we have free newsletters. We're on the web, and we actually still have print if you like print.
I do. I happen to like, holding something in my hand, and it's a nice thing. And what's interesting about the J is that you cover everything from at the very, very personal level, like births and bar mitzvahs and b'nai mitzvahs and b'nai mitzvot and so forth, all the way up to international news. And so that must be a particular challenge for you.
It really is. And the way that we do all that is we say we're covering everything from our region's lens. So, for example, we just don't cover, like, I mean, everybody cares about Israel, people care about the United States, they care about all that, all of that, but we only cover it if there's relevance to, like, specific relevance to people living here. So if there's an event where some important figure from Israel is coming here and speaking, we might cover that. If someone here, like, when Jews go to Congress or something, we cover that. Like, it has to have a connection to our region in order for us to cover it. We will we will bring in wire stories from our friends at JTA and the Forward and Haaretz if we feel like there's stories that are interesting for a population that they might not see otherwise. But we ourselves only write and produce stories from the lens of the region.
What do people often misunderstand about Jewish journalism, especially a community-based publication like the J?
So many things. I mean, I think within our community, like within the Jewish community, people sometimes think that we have like a particular point of view. And we do, in the sense that our point of view is we're for the Jews of Northern California. Like, we care about Jews in Northern California, we care about Judaism, but we don't really have any other point of view. I mean, we have a really huge diversity of views and here political views and others, and we try not to take sides. We are we support Israel as as an important part of the Jewish community. So in that sense, we have values around things like Israel and the importance of, Jewish community, but we don't take political views. Outside of the Jewish community, the funny thing is that people think we're a religious publication. And as you'll know, if you've read our content, we do have a regular Torah column. Like, we cover what's happening in Jewish institutions, but we are not the place to get your religious life satisfied.
You maybe just give us a little flavor of it each week, right?
Yeah, that's right. We just actually today ran a opinion piece by a local rabbi in Sacramento talking about how they're now welcoming non-Jewish members to their conservative synagogue. So that is about religious life, but we're not actually giving you prayers or anything like that.
Hmm. So, having had some connection with the J in terms of things that I've written personally, some articles have been accepted, and I guess I've had about 3 different articles that have come out over the years. Then there's some other ones that have not been, and I'm always curious to know how do you and your team decide which stories rise to the level of major coverage or front page attention, or even page 10 or 11?
Well, fortunately for me, I have a very hard job, but the one thing I don't do is make decisions about which stories get in and which don't. Thank God I have an editor who does that. But in general, we're looking for stories that are super relevant to the community. We're looking for stories that have something new that people haven't heard about before. And I feel like um, that's people tend to fall uh, the problems come tend to come there. So for example, sometimes organizations will want to send stories to us about like a specific event they have. Like, it's very common for a synagogue or an organization to say, hey, we're having like this event, and it's like, great, but you know what, 300 other organizations also are having events just like that, and we're here for the entire community, and you need to advertise that event and talk about that event in your newsletter and not for the whole community. um, and then the other thing is that yeah, sometimes it's just not news per se, it's something that has been done multiple times and there's nothing different this time, so we're not going to run it. Those are usually the main criteria that where folks fall through. Um, every once in a while, yeah, I would say that. I mean, that's those are the criteria, and our point of view is going to be different from the point of view of the writer. Like, for the writer or the person submitting, everything is really interesting, and for us, we've seen it before, so it's not as interesting. And it's a little bit, that's where you rely on the experience, and we have we have so much experience on our staff, and so that's part of it, is that people have really seen everything already.
So it's, I guess, if you were going to summarize that, it's relevance, it's interest to a broad scope of people, and it's something maybe unique or different
Unique,
or,
fresh,
yeah,
different. Yeah.
fresh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to balance being an independent journalistic entity, and and also your responsibility to the community. And we're in such an opinionated time. I think that's a particularly big challenge. Can you share an example of a story where the editorial team had to make a very difficult judgment call on whether to include a story or whether the story had to be kind of bent in a certain way in order to be acceptable to you?
Yeah. You know, we will never sort of bend a story. Like we're either going to run it the way it is or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I will tell you, this is probably not what you're thinking. But we've had an interesting issue recently around anti-Semitic incidents, and I think that that really goes to the heart of what we do and how we're different. Uh, we know that there's been dozens of anti-Semitic incidents, things that seem anti-Israel incidents, all kinds of things happening, especially in our schools and in our local community. And we've talked to several groups have been organized. I mean, we have the ADL, we have JCRC, and then other grassroots groups have come up like BAJC or BACA that are fighting against these anti-Semitic incidents. And they'll tell us there are hundreds of these incidents. We we do stories about anti-Semitic incidents, and we have a map of anti-Semitic incidents in the Bay Area at schools. That map now has, I believe, 28 incidents on it.
Wow.
To me, 28 is way too many. But the organizations, the grassroots organizations say, well, how come you have so few incidents on that map?
Mm-hmm.
Like we are hearing about many more. And that goes to how we operate. We only put on, first of all, we have criteria about what makes an incident anti-Semitic. So it has to be specifically an incident where someone is expressing hatred of Jews. So if it's, for example, if it's like a pro-Palestinian flag, we're not going to call it an anti-Semitic incident. It might be upsetting to the Jewish people, but it's not anti-Semitic. It's pro-Palestinian. Um, if someone is anti-Zionist and against Israel as a political organization, but they're not against Jews, then we categorize it as anti-Zionist, but not particularly anti-Semitic. And some people will disagree with us and they'll say, if it's anti-Zionist, it is anti-Semitic. But what we wanted to do in this map is call out specifically anti-Semitic incidents. So where it's actually hatred of us as Jews, no matter what our political positions are. And because we think that that's actually the worst kind of situation, that's the most difficult. And and so that's the first thing is we have really strict criteria. The second thing is that we only will do things that we can verify. So, in a lot of cases, parents will say, my kid, this thing happened to my kid, but they don't want to talk to us because they don't want to be public. We are willing to talk to people anonymously, but they have to talk to us. We need to know that there's like a human being who actually had this thing happen to them. We like to talk to the people at the school. We like to find out. Our reporters will actually go out and look at the whole incident. And we only will put things on the map if we can verify them in that way. And so we have a whole process around this because people rely on journalism as a source of truth. So we're not here to be advocates, although, I mean, we obviously support the Jewish community, but that's not our role. Our role is to be a source of truth. These are factual, this is accurate. People can rely on us. And it's really, really important that we preserve that. And what it means, I'll finish this up quickly, but what it means is that secular news organizations, people outside of the Jewish community, then rely on us. And so they don't think that, oh, we're just saying things because, we're Jews or whatever. They say, okay, these people, we can really trust what they say. And so if we say that we know that there are at least 28 verifiable anti-Semitic incidents, that becomes that can become a story that can be picked up by other news outlets, and it resonates in the non-Jewish world. And that's a really important role that we play, is making sure that non-Jewish people understand what our community is going through.
So, do you also work with the ADL and JCRC, and so that you share that information with them, or they already like know it already, and so you're just kind of, you're just reinforcing what they already have, or how do you view your role in relation to those organizations? Because they've been ones that we've actually are showcasing on Mitzvah Expo as well. So I'm kind of curious about that relationship that you have as a newspaper and in the community.
We partner deeply with all kinds of organizations in the community, and the ADL and JCRC are important sources of information for us. I would say it's very unusual that we run across something that they don't already know about. I mean, it happens once in a while, but they usually do. It's just their mission is really different from ours. And so we kind of often go along parallel tracks. A good example was the case of the Branham High swastika incident, where a bunch of young high schoolers uh, decided to make a swastika on their football field and put it on Instagram with a quote from Hitler.
Hmm.
Um, the JCRC knew about that incident, but their role is as a community partner to talk to folks at the high school to make sure it doesn't happen again in that high school. So for them, it was important, and I'm not going to speak on their behalf, but my understanding is that they went behind the scenes to talk to the high school and try to like figure out what happened. Our job is to um, report the incident and say this thing happened and it really hurt people in the community, right? So we have really different roles. And so we were both involved in that high school. We were both there. We both knew about it. Our role was to tell the story, and their role was to talk to the community partner. Um, and that's the way we work. Like we really value our partnerships in the community so much because we have different roles to play.
Just curious, has there been any particular incident that made, or whether it's an incident or just any kind of an event that you discovered and then that had ramifications it kind of went the other direction where something that you brought forth as a revelatory story then had an impact on these organizations and how they decided to go forward and do what they had to do?
I think there are a few cases of that, but I don't think I would talk about them.
Okay. All right. Well, let's keep those under wraps right now then. All right. All right. So obviously, as we mentioned, this is a very opinionated time, a very opinionated society. And even within the Jewish population, there's probably at least, 40 different opinions, at least, about different things having to do with Israel, the war, and so on. So how do you navigate, like you almost have to be like a King Solomon or something to kind of navigate internal disagreements within the community while maintaining a trust across a diverse readership?
I think I think people look to us to do that. People look to us to like I said, we connect the community, and one of the things we do is connect the community to each other. Uh, we we use our opinion section a lot for that purpose. We don't run our own editorials, but what we like to do is provide space for people in the community to have important things to say. And that's how that fosters a larger conversation in the rest of the community. And we choose those things very carefully. Especially if somebody's going to offer a very controversial opinion, we make sure it's somebody who is well known and has some standing in the community, like has support in the community. Um, we do get solicitations from like, people with radical ideas, or, people who are, on their own or whatever. But we're not really interested in that, because what we're interested in is fostering a conversation that where somebody will say, oh, I didn't realize that so and so at such and such place actually had that position like that. I need to take that more carefully. I need to think more about that. And so I feel like having people who are have more institutional affiliations actually promotes deeper conversation than having people with who don't have those kind of affiliations. That doesn't mean that we won't run pieces by individuals, and we have sometimes, and but we actually sort of take a step back and say, is this person going to be believed? Is this a person who community members are going to actually be interested in, or are they just going to dismiss them out of hand? Because if they're going to dismiss them out of hand, then that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the person writing it. It doesn't help the community.
Do you sometimes have like a count and counterpoint type of situation where you've got two different opinions and you're presenting them both in one kind of a piece?
We only have two opinions. It's a Jewish community. We haven't done that. We've done it in the past. We might start doing it again. I'm not sure. I was sometimes I like roundtable discussions, but the thing is, one of the benefits of having like standalone pieces is that then community members can make up their own mind when they're listening, listening to them, and I think that's useful too.
You have a letters to the editor section. Okay, so
Very vibrant.
that would
I
be
encourage everyone to submit something, and we actually have our letters to the editor is the most open part of our news section because we just really want to hear from people. And like I said, with the opinion pieces, we tend to think, well, is this person going to be trusted or listened to? But in the letters, anything goes, really. I mean, we won't do anything that's, racist or whatever, but anything goes, really. Like we're very open to anything that anybody wants to talk about that's related to one of our stories.
I guess that leads me to my next question, which is, are there any opportunities for greater involvement in what you do or some sort of, taking what, let's say, the J reports and then bringing it into the community and increasing involvement in various causes or organizations, some kind of a positive action in the community? How do you foster that?
We have started putting links at the end of our stories to community organizations and to like, how can I help? What can I do? And we're going to be doing more of that. We've talked about that internally. We want to make sure that when people see something, they can take action. And one of the stories that I've been proudest of is a story we did back in 2023. It was a piece about the local San Francisco Hillel that serves actually like, I think, seven colleges or something. And the piece was about how students at that Hillel were using it as a food pantry because they just didn't have enough money to buy food. And as a result of that piece, the Hillel got so many donations. They got donations in money, they got donations of food, they got a food bank to actually help supply their food pantry. And so it was real impact. And that's what we want to see happen more and more. We want to see stories where people can actually make a real difference. And we want to find ways to help people make that difference.
I think that's would be very powerful to have like a section within the J Weekly that gives like opportunities to help, ways that
Right.
people can get involved, whatever that might be. And similar, are there any kinds of stories that tend to resonate most strongly and inspire people to engage or take action? You gave one a great example of the Hillel, but any other ones that you'd want to share?
We do hear from people that they have been really inspired by the stories. Um, and I think we need to give people more ways to participate in order for the stories to have more of that kind of direct impact that we'd like to see.
What do you see the future of Jewish journalism look like in the era ahead with digital media and social platforms and AI and changing reader habits? It must be particularly challenging for you as the CEO of this organization that's been around for literally, I guess, what, over 100 years now?
130 years. Yeah.
130, amazing. Okay. So it's like an evolution in the way people consume news, the way they, whether they pick up a digital, like a hard copy of something, or do they only go to the digital? Have you done some studies that kind of help you to guide you into making your publication effective and impactful for the young people going forward and for everybody who's experiencing this?
Absolutely. I mean, journalism has been disrupted for like the past 30 or 40 years. And first it was the internet, and the solution was websites. Then it was social media, and the solution was to be on social. Now it's AI. And what AI means is that people aren't looking for information anymore directly. They're asking their chat GPT or whatever, or, Claude or whatever to give them information. And so that means that we have to be searchable by chatbots, like, um, and it also means that we have to work harder for people to have a direct experience of the news that we're producing. If people are only finding our news like on Instagram or through Gemini or something, that's great. We're really glad that they're finding the news, but it means that they don't have a relationship with us. Like we want, we want our community to feel like we're the provider of that. We're the provider for that connection, and not just, you know, it's not that we're creating this content that then, magically appears in your AI feed. And so one of the things that we're going to be starting to do is to be more present and more visible in the community. You're going to see more of our reporters actually showing up in person at events. You're going to see us doing more partnerships, like we're doing this fantastic Arts and Book Fest with the Magnus. We're at C3. We work with the Jewish Film Institute. We'll be more visible, like as partners with events, and we may even start doing some of our own kind of events. We we want to be like as much a part of the community as a JCC or the, your synagogue or something else. We want you to know who we are. We want you to see our faces and feel like you can come up to any of us and sort of say, hey, I've got a story, or I want to ask you a question, I need some information. That's what we're here for.
Well, it sounds like a great plan for it going forward. For people who are listening, and we're going to have a showcase page for the J Weekly on mitzvahexpo.org. But also, is there any particular way that people can support the J, help to sustain your existence, and or help to build it as you're going forward in the future?
Yeah, one of the things that people don't realize is that we are completely independent. So we still have some folks who think that, oh, the Federation must, we must be a vehicle of the Federation or something. We must be supported somehow by somebody else. No, it's actually 2,800 people in the community support Jay. Like that's how we actually survive. And so it's through donors like you, as KQED says. So, uh, we really appreciate people providing us with financial support. We want people to read us. We want people to share us on Instagram. Share stories with your friends and relatives and like that. And also tell us what we can do better. We really, really want to hear how we can be a better information provider to you. We're starting to send out more surveys. We're starting to do focus groups. If you want to participate, you can just write to me at ceo@jweekly.com and just say, hey, I would like to participate in a focus group. I would like to take a survey. We would love to hear from you.
Great. And so your website is jweekly.com.
It is jweekly.com. You can donate there. You can find our stories there. You can sign up for our free newsletters there.
So
You
you have both electronic newsletter, and then you also have the hard copy of the actual magazine, right?
Right. So a hard copy print magazine, you can, if you donate at least $50, you can get the
I
magazine
happen to
for
have one
free.
right here.
Mhm. That comes out every couple of weeks. We have free newsletters. We have a really nice roundup on Sunday. We have a daily newsletter Monday through Friday. And we're also on Instagram at Jewish News of NorCal. So there's lots of ways to get in touch.
Are you also on Facebook and other, social media? Maybe just tell us briefly about that, and then I'll ask you your final question.
Sure. Yeah, sure. We're on Facebook as well. And mostly we're mostly doing Facebook and Instagram right now. If you think we should go somewhere else, let us know. Um, it's we we curate all of our content. And so one of the important things to know is one of the reasons we're not like on every single platform and every single channel is because we actually have human beings working on things. So we have a staff of 10 on our editorial staff, and they're working every day, and like they run our social media. It's all human centric. So uh so we choose pretty carefully what we do and how we do it because we want to make sure that everything is really accurate.
Great. Well, I want to thank Jo Ellen Green Kaiser for being with me today, representing the J Weekly, the Jewish News of Northern California. Jo Ellen, is there any final message you have for our Mitzvah Expo listeners who I hope will check out this recording and the showcase page on mitzvahexpo.org?
I just really want to thank you. I think this Mitzvah Expo is a fantastic product itself. You're doing a great job.
Thank
And
you.
to all the listeners, one of the things I want to let you know is that Jay has a complete set of Jewish resources and event calendar. And so if you're looking for anything Jewish, you can go to jweekly.com and go to resources and find all the over almost 1,000 different organizations in the Bay Area that serve the Jewish community. We are your connector.
Excellent. So thank you again, Jo Ellen Green Kaiser, for being with us today on Mitzvah Expo.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Bernstein.
My pleasure. A special thanks to CEO Jo Ellen Green Kaiser for joining me today and sharing the important work of J, the Jewish News of Northern California, with our Mitzvah Expo listeners. To learn more about the initiatives of J, the Jewish News of Northern California, and about other organizations featured on the program, visit our showcase pages on mitzvahexpo.org. While you're there, we invite you to join the Mitzvah Expo community so you can stay up to date on future programs, featured organizations, and events. We invite you to also share a mitzvah you've done in your own life or community. Your good deed may inspire others and help highlight the many ways people can make a difference. You can listen to Mitzvah Expo on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and listen or watch on YouTube, and of course at mitzvahexpo.org. If you enjoyed the program, please follow or subscribe so more people can discover the inspiring work happening across the Jewish community. And we'd love to hear from you. Please write to me at rabbilindabernstein@gmail.com with your comments and suggestions for future featured Jewish organizations. Get informed, be inspired. For Mitzvah Expo, I'm Rabbi Linda Bernstein.
You've been listening to Mitzvah Expo. Learn more at mitzvahexpo.org.
Mitzvah Expo is a production of Vita Media Corporation.